Hello, boys and girls. My name is Miss Slaney. I teach English, history, and theater in middle school. You might be thinking it's all rather mysterious that I teach 3 different subjects every single day. Yes, every school day. And I teach in a small middle school of only 12 students. You might be wondering if I teach all 12 students. Yes, every school day. And I live in a small cowboy town. I just moved here last year, so there's some people who still look at me like I came from the moon. In this town, practically every family has a collection of horses, cows, sheep, goats, chickens, and pigs. Not me. I just collect students. I really enjoy teaching my students. Well, until last week, I liked all but one. Oh, I'm sorry to say it, and I know I shouldn't say, but that one boy was, oh, never mind. He just didn't like me, and I thought maybe it was because I'm black, but that wasn't the case. He's just a boy who liked to create bad chaos for everyone. I just want to focus on the positive, which includes telling you a story about my favorite student of all time. Shauna is my all-time favorite student. Actually, right now there should be about 47 students in my 4 classes. However, we promoted Tammy Dilson from 7th grade to 11th grade because she's so intelligent. Everyone in our small cowboy town knows that she's the smartest person who ever lived here. I miss having her as my student. I must confess, it was sometimes very difficult for me to hold a conversation with her. Only because half the time I couldn't understand what she was talking about. I predict someday she may very well win the Nobel Prize for medicine or science or literature. But then again, there's chaos creator Henry. The police officer, we have one in this town, sent 8th grader Henry Ficklebattle to special school for boys who enjoy creating chaos. He created nonstop chaos for his fellow students, for me, for the principal, and for his parents. In fact, I'm pretty sure that even his father's sheep, goats, and pigs are most likely very happy the day that he was sent to a school 76 miles away. Now, I'm waiting for even more chaos in my life when the principal asked me to also be the PE teacher, or maybe the cafeteria cook, perhaps a janitor. Like I said, it's a small town. Of course, there's 2 kinds of chaos, good chaos and bad chaos. Tammy created good chaos because with her being so intelligent, she changed her life for the better. Henry's creation of daily chaos was bad for everyone and his father's animals, but mostly for himself. Now, since I'm a good teacher who thinks storytelling is a wonderful way to get to know my students, I'm going to share with you a story that has past, present, and future chaos in it. It will be up to you to answer the mystery question, good chaos or bad chaos? The story happened 3 days ago in my classroom. It was with my favorite student whom I started to tell you about. Her name is Shauna. She's a 7th grader. She and I have 4 things in common. 1, we are both female. 2, we both live in a very small Nevada farming community. 3, we're both black. And 4, she's my niece, which is why I moved to this town. My special story about me and Shauna. Oh, we have an agreement. In school, she calls me Miss Slaney. Out of school, she calls me Aunt Lisa. Okay, the story begins with my asking the usual after-school question when she stays to work with me on a special project. Shauna, may I interrupt your daydreaming? The 13-year-old looked very startled. You talking to me, Miss Slaney? Well, you and I are the only people in this room. If you look at the clock, you'll see the minutes are passing by. Then if you glance over at that calendar, you'll notice the days are both going and coming. Yet, instead of working on your theater history project for the big competition, you're once again staring out the window. Shauna replied, When I was a baby, My mother worked in rich people's houses. She washed windows. I grew up watching her, which is why I get most of my creative and inspirational thoughts when I'm looking out a window. I guess I should count my blessings that my mom didn't work in a park picking up dog poop. I felt like biting my lower lip to keep from laughing. I'm hoping, Shauna, that you are deep in thought about winning Nevada's middle school theatrical history contest. Our school has never had a state champion go to New York City and compete against middle schools from all 50 states. Everyone here would be so proud of you if you were to be our state champion. I would like to go with you to New York City as your teacher and chaperone. Shauna slowly wiggled her long fingers through her curly black hair. In her usual pattern, which often irritated both her peers and adults, she delayed proceeding with the task at hand. I don't know what to do. Should I rewrite the script? I sighed and asked, how many times do you plan to rewrite it? Up to now, you've written 18 versions of your script, and you haven't barely started rehearsing. Shauna twitched her lips side to side, a habit she developed when she was 5 years old. Her grandma told her it started happening after the first day she played with Henry Finkelbattle in kindergarten. Through her pouting lips, she said, I want to win the first place trophy. I want to go to New York City and perform my 10-minute theater play. But what if the judges at the state competition in Carson City watch me perform and feel like they're going to barf because I'm a rotten actress and rotten as a writer, rotten as a researcher? And they're going to ask me questions about my project. What if my answers are so rotten that all the judges at the same time barf? I'll feel so rotten if I'm standing in front of 3 or 6 or 8 or 10 or 100 judges, and all of them barf all over the floor. Oh dear, I forgot that my grandma keeps telling me to stop using the word rotten. I don't know why I use that word so many times every day. Maybe it's because when I was 7 years old, I went to bite into an apple Henry Finkelbattle gave me as a birthday present, and when I went in to bite into it, a giant wiggly worm popped out and I screamed, "It's rotten!" Once again, I try not to chuckle. I've never gotten tired of being amused by Shauna's imagination. Shauna continued her worrying lamentation. Or what if I do win the Nevada History Day competition? Oh dear, what if all the losers from our middle school get mad at me and say bad things about me? Call me bad names? Some of the other competitors are my friends. What if I win and they lose? Well, they'll be so angry at me, they won't like me anymore. Some of them won't let me eat lunch with them anymore. Or the next day in school, all the losers from all the other middle schools throughout Nevada show up at this school, and they all throw tomatoes at me when I'm walking into the cafeteria. Then the principal will call the police. They'll come and arrest the losers for trespassing and being violent. Oh, then the media will show up and take my picture and put it in front of this town's newspaper. I'll be the laughing stock of this town. Oh, geez. Now that I think about all that, I feel like barfing. I was starting to lose patience. You should use that overactive imagination of yours to write the best script you can and then begin rehearsing with as much energy as you have possible. Don't make yourself sick imagining horrible things like that will never happen. One of the worst questions we can ask ourselves is, what if a horrible thing happens? Question. Shauna began to bite her nails. Another nervous habit. Oh, it's so difficult being a teenage creative genius. That's what I am, a 13-year-old creative genius. I'm not bragging. I'm just stating a fact. I have tremendous self-esteem. I think very highly of myself. It's just that I live in a town where I think the cows and the chickens are smarter than most of the people. No offense, Aunt Lisa. I think you're very smart. Of course, everyone knows that you ain't as smart as Tammy. I allowed myself to smile this time. Thank you, Shauna. But remember, we're in my classroom, so it's Miss Slaney. For a brief moment, and I do mean brief, Shauna appeared to be on the brink of relaxing. I should have told you before, Miss Slaney, but you know me. Fraidy cat, timid bird, wiggly emotional squirrel. But I'll tell you now, I have actually... Putting both hands between my chin and my elbows on my very cluttered desk, I said, let me guess. Cat, bird, squirrel. You changed the topic of your presentation from one of Reno's history's most important African-American social champions to something about Nevada's animals. Shauna smiled broadly. If I say so, Miss Slaney, keep your day job. Don't quit to become a contestant on a TV game show. Guessing isn't your strongest talent. Once again, I was amused by my favorite student's sense of sarcastic humor. Shauna inhaled deeply. She held her breath. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she exhaled as if blowing out birthday candles. Okay, Miss Slaney, I have lots of good qualities, especially for being a creative genius. However, I fully admit that I'm not very brave. My social worker, is my therapist. Sometimes I get them confused. Though, to be honest, I think my grandma gives me the best advice. Well, one of them is always telling me that I have this desperate need to be approved by everyone. I need people to approve me. Frankly, I think that's psychobabble. I don't care if people like me or not. What I care about is being, I don't know, maybe I just want to be rich and famous. I laughed so hard and loud that Shauna was afraid that the teacher in the next classroom might fling open the door and zoom in. Okay, I'll do it right now, Shauna shouted. Do what? I asked. Rehearse my monologue for you, right here and now, the 18th version of what I wrote. I'll do it right here, right now, in front of you, but you have to promise me something. What's the promise you need from me? If I'm really, really, really rotten, you have to promise not to barf all over your desk. I nodded my head, trying not to laugh again. Shauna composed herself by closing her eyes, taking 3 long breaths, lifting her arms above her head and mumbling, ooh, la, su, da, be, ma, lu, ba, lu, ba, lu, ba, lu. Needless to say, I looked confused. Shauna opened one of her eyes, looked at her very perplexed teacher, and whispered, I don't know what that means, but I read it in a book that it's some kind of magical sentence. It's called a mantra, and it's supposed to give a person courage. I whispered in return, but I suggest you don't do that in front of the contest judges. Shauna stepped forward and bowed. Good morning, honorable judges of the Nevada History Day Theatrical Contest. My name is Shauna Livingston. I am a middle school student. I am one of 10 competitors from my school competing in this state contest. Shauna bowed again. I'm sure if all of you judges are intelligent and honest, you would select me as the winner. Frankly, those other competitors are lame. Now, for my project, I chose to enter this contest because I like to show off. She bowed again. I slowly shook my head side to side. Shauna, leave off that part about liking to show off, and there's no need to keep on bowing. I can assure you that the Queen of England is not one of the judges. She continued. My performance today is a script I wrote. 18 versions. To tell you the truth, honorable contest judges, my eyes hurt and my fingers ache from typing on that cheap laptop my Uncle Henry gave me. I could have written a much better script if someone in my family had the money to buy me a good computer. But my dad spends so much money buying himself junk food. Day and night, all my dad eats is junk food. He's going to die early. I just know it. I interrupted. I think it's best to leave out any information about your family. Just announce your name and the title of your presentation. Then immediately go into the performance. The judges don't need to know anything about your dad's eating habits or health. Shauna nodded her head. You are so right, Miss Slaney. Probably one or more of the judges is addicted to eating junk food and will probably die real soon, too. So I shouldn't upset them. I tried not to laugh. I really held it in. She continued. The title of my theatrical performance is The Black Maid Who Created Community Chaos. Was it good chaos or bad chaos? You be the judge of Mrs. Alice Smith. I will pretend to be her because when I grow up, I want to be a great community humanitarian just like her. Plus, I want to be an award-winning actress like Miss Hattie McDaniel, who was the first black actress to win an Academy Award for the movie Gone with the Wind. I thought of writing and performing a show for this contest by writing and performing a script about Miss Hattie McDaniel. But she wasn't from Nevada, and she was very fat, and I'm skinny as a toothpick. Once again, I offered a suggestion. Shauna, just announce the title of your project, that's all. Don't confuse the judges. Okay, Miss Slaney, that's probably great advice, since one or more of the judges probably know who Miss Hattie McDaniel was. Everyone in this town just likes cowboy movies. All I could do was put my hands over my mouth to keep from laughing. Shauna continued by first bowing again. Now, I was going to talk so I could sound like Miss Alice Smith, but truth be told, I don't know what she sounded like because she died before I was born. Clearing her throat, bending over to portray an elderly woman, and speaking more slowly than usual, she began her rehearsal performance, pretending she was in front of contest judges. Whenever people in Reno, way back when I was alive, would either praise me for all the great things I did for the community, or when they would talk so badly about me because they were jealous, I didn't let any of their words, good or bad, affect me. Whatever anyone said about me, well, I just shrugged those words off like water off a duck's back. I was the great-granddaughter of slaves back in the deep South. Slaves. Never should have been such a thing as slavery. I hoped all those ugly old men who owned slaves are rotting in the graves 6 feet under the dirt. Immediately I interrupted. Shauna, I'm sure Mrs. Alice Smith never says such a thing. Shauna replied, I'm just using my creative imagination, Miss Slaney. That's what all of us creative geniuses do. However, it's probably best if I do leave that part out. Who knows? Maybe one or more of the contest judges has a slave owner in their family history. Okay, I'll continue what I wrote. I was born in St. Louis, Missouri on November 4th, 1902. I died in Reno, Nevada in August 6, 1990. During those 82 years I was alive, I kicked a lot of butt. This time, my interrupting voice was stern. No, she did not. You can't say such a thing about such a great woman. Shauna wrinkled her nose and twisted her lips. Geez, Miss Slaney, I'm only trying to add some drama. Shauna, drama is what Mrs. Smith's life was all about. She accomplished so much in Reno by overcoming so much drama that was thrown at her by prejudicial people who were determined not to allow a black woman, especially one who was a maid, to outshine them. Putting her hands on her hips, she said, Well, that's what I was trying to say in the first place. She kicked butt. But I'll leave that out, too. Continue, Shauna, I mumbled. She cleared her throat. In 1955, I married Mr. Albert Smith. He was a World War I soldier. Let me tell you all something. He was one handsome dude. Shauna, I shouted. They did not use the word dude back in 1955. Geez, Miss Slaney, no offense, but even though you're the teacher, don't you think you're a little bit of a boring thinker? Show some creative imagination. I bit my lower lip. Continue, Shauna. Well, me and my husband, he was a very handsome man, moved to Reno. We were living in San Francisco. We moved to Sparks, Nevada, which is next to Reno, in 1938. Not too many other black people were living here, and there were lots of people who wished there were no black people living here. There were signs in the windows of restaurants that read, "No coloreds, no Indians, no dogs allowed." Made me so mad every time I passed one of those signs. I just wanted to go inside those rotten places and kick some rotten butt. Shauna, no. Sorry, Miss Slaney. Old habits are just hard to break. You were only 13 years old, Shauna. Hurry up and develop a few new habits. At this point during the rehearsal, I began to think she wasn't going to win the $400 and a trip to New York City. Perhaps one of my other students in the contest might surprise me and pull off a victory. The only other one who had a chance was Freddie Taylor, but he was a long shot. With his performance, he portrays an angry and scared cow who's been led to the slaughter by the rancher who needed to sell hot dog beef to pay off his gambling debts. However, no matter how many times I try to convince Fred that hot dogs are made from pork, which is from pigs, he, like Shauna, insisted on creative freedom. Though I must say he's a good actor when it comes to mooing. Shauna sensed I was becoming restless, so she drew in a deep breath, glared at me as if trying to read my mind, and continued her rehearsal performance. As I stated previously, I worked as a maid, cleaning rich people's homes. At that same time, I took care of my husband who had health problems. Now, you may be wondering, what did this black woman do for fun? Never did figure out what the word fun was supposed to be all about. In my spare time, this is what I did. Pay attention, because I'm going to go real fast, as I'm up in heaven right now, and I got angel choir practice starting real soon. Shauna, no. You can't be portraying Miss Alice Smith as if she's a ghost. Now don't throw in that kind of stuff. Stick to the facts. Her glaring grew stronger. I don't mean to be investigating your religious beliefs, Miss Slaney. But as for me, well, I do believe angels and heaven are 100% pure facts. And I am 100% positive Mrs. Alice Smith, who died on August 6, 1990 in Reno, Nevada, flew straight up into the heavenly choir. Though I do admit, in doing my research, I couldn't discover if she sang the church choir while alive. I must admit, though I was only a few seconds away from pounding my fist onto the desk and shouting something I would regret, I did admire that girl's stubborn streak. I'm sure Alice Smith was stubborn also. Continue, Shauna, I said while gritting my teeth. Well, now I, Mrs. Alice Smith, who is not a ghost, had to overcome many hurdles put up against everything I did. Here's what I accomplished despite you bigoted, hateful idiots. So to everyone who tried to interfere in my goals, I forgive you. Shauna didn't give me time to interrupt. I started the local chapter of the NAACP. For those who don't know what that stands for, it's the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. I don't think there was anything bad about calling me a colored person. I like the color of my dark brown skin. It was shiny and silky. I had beautiful black frizzy hair too, just like the teenage actress portraying me. Her name is Shauna, and she deserves to win first place in this contest. Shauna, You won't win if you don't stay in character, I said extremely loud and firmly. Continue, please. I was appointed by 2 governors of Nevada to serve on different committees and boards. For example, I was on the Washoe County Economic Opportunity Board. I was an officer with the American Red Cross. My husband and I started the American Legion for Black War veterans because black soldiers weren't allowed to be in the regular American Legion. That's not all. Like I said, I didn't waste time. I was appointed a delegate to the United Nations Conference in 1940 and a delegate to the President Johnson's White House Conference on Aging and a delegate to the Federation of the Blind, though I wasn't blind, but I did get to go to Hawaii free of charge. You should have seen me doing the hula dance. I was terrific. I interrupted again. Is it really true she danced to the hula? Did you discover that as a fact in your research? Shauna sighed. Obviously, you don't believe in artistic freedom, Aunt Lisa, Miss Slaney. Nevertheless, I'll leave that out, though one of the judges might have just come back from a Hawaiian vacation. Anyway, I'll continue as Mrs. Alice Smith. I was appointed to the State of Nevada's Welfare Board. I was appointed to the State Advisory Board for Home Nursing, though I wasn't a nurse. I started the Foster Grandparent Program, though I wasn't a grandma. I was an officer with the Nevada League of Women Voters. That was really special to me because my grandma and my mother weren't allowed to vote because they were black women. In 1966, I was appointed to be a delegate to the Race Relations Institute, and I got a free trip to Nashville, Tennessee. I didn't get to meet any country western singing stars. I always liked Patsy Cline. She wasn't black. Just because I was a black woman didn't mean I could only like black female singers. And guess what? I was voted Woman of the Year for the Sparks, Nevada Business Women's Club in 1975. And I received 2 other awards. I was listed in the Who's Who among Black Americans, and I was awarded the Service of Mankind Award. And guess what about something else? I was the first black person, man or woman, in Nevada to have a school named after a black person. The Alice Smith Elementary School in Golden Valley, Nevada. But they waited until I died to do it. That was like a real bummer for me. I was looking down from heaven at the ceremony and I had to interrupt once again. Shauna, stay in character, please. She glared at me even more strongly before continuing. I want to tell all you people something. This was my philosophy. I'd always say, let's not throw away our lives. Let's do something constructive. I always feel like I want to climb up a little bit higher and maybe I can take someone with me. And one last thing I got to say to all of you. When people were saying bad things about me, I just let those words fly off me like water on a duck's back. When Shauna finished, I sat speechless. I was stunned at how powerful she delivered her performance. I was stunned to hear the accomplishments of Mrs. Alice Smith. I was so proud of Shauna. However, I was afraid of 2 things. One, when she went home, she would rewrite her script again. Striving for excellence is one thing, but there is no such thing as creative perfection. And 2, when she would be performing before the judges at the conference, she would improvise and say things she shouldn't. Having control over one's thoughts and emotions is a key to success. Miss Slaney, I'm thinking I should finish my presentation in front of the judges by telling them that only 8 people came to Alice Smith's funeral. She died in a nursing home. She had diabetes. Only 8 people came to her funeral. That makes me so angry. I just want to go out and kick butt. Shauna, no. You can't end your performance that way. Simply bow and thank the judges. Mrs. Smith was always very polite, don't you think? But, she protested, you told me to stop bowing so much. Make up your mind, Miss Slaney. I think you must be awfully tired from teaching English, history, and theater today. You should go home. Kick off your shoes, put your books away, cook yourself some hot dogs, and just be Aunt Lisa for tonight. I don't know if I wanted to laugh or cry. She hesitated and then asked very quietly and humbly, do you really think I have a chance at winning and going to New York City to compete? I really want to represent the state of Nevada in a glorious way, just like Mrs. Smith did. I smiled. Yes, I think you will win. Her eyes opened wide, and she smiled so brightly, I was so proud of her until she said, but I'm telling you, Miss Slaney, if those judges pick Freddie as the winner for pretending he's an angry cow and his only talent is letting out a big, loud moos, I'm going to be feeling the need to kick someone's rotten. Shauna, stay positive. When I go with you to New York City to compete in the national competition, you and I are going to have some fun. Big time fun. Something it seems Mrs. Alice Smith never got a chance to do for herself. Now, boys and girls, you're probably wondering how Shauna did at the Nevada competition in Carson City. Did she win first place? Was she awarded $400? Did we go to New York City together? Did she win the national competition? I'll just say, New York City is a very colorful place to visit. But Shauna and I are so thankful that Mrs. Alice Smith added such beautiful color to Nevada. Oh, by the way, Freddie did such a great job pretending he was an angry cow, he won second place. And the principal just informed me that in a week, I will start teaching the PE class. I sure wish I had Mrs. Alice Smith's energy.